I welcome you to this session, and my name is Ssebuyungo Wilber Kivekayunga, a lecturer at Nkumba University and Managing Director of Action Entrepreneurs. We're looking at the human resource management and concepts of human resource management in the national and international concepts. So we are going to focus on our section 2 of this lecture, the National Enterprise Program Director and Manager, and I also lecture with Nkumba University. I also work with the Action Entrepreneurs, and this lecture is sponsored by Nkumba University, Carol FM, Action Entrepreneurs, Itomi International Kindergarten and Daycare Center in Entebbe, then Tiny Treasures Preschool in Katale Runya within Wakiso district, and we have looked at the various aspects of human resource, which we have focused on our previous lecture. We looked at human resource planning, the organizational structure, job analysis, and work analysis. However, in this session, we are going to look at job description and job specification, the recruitment and selection process. Then we also look at outsourcing, insourcing, and human resource policies and content. So we've seen that for us to do work analysis, we need to collect data from those who are already doing the work through interviewing and observing by observation. By having large-scale data collection questionnaires, we can also use focus group discussions, and we can also use already existing data about workforce and about productivity and production. We can also use rate cards to collect this data so that we can easily set their procedures and processes that people have got to undertake while doing work, rewarding them, providing to guide the provision of equipment and tools and the safety resources which we should provide. And then we are also able to see to forecast the risks which are involved in doing the work, and we can also get informed on how we can train these workers and even rewarding them appropriately, because we are informed by what exactly these workers are doing, and we have extracted this data from the right sources. So that means we can now specifically design the job description and the job specification. Please be aware that a job description and job specification as a result of job analysis and the work analysis. So when we do the two, we can now come up with the job description and the job specification. The organization is as good as the quality of its employees. So employees are finding all these employers, the directors, the entrepreneurs are always finding all the effective ways of obtaining suitable and competent employees to carry out duties and responsibilities on day-to-day operations of their organizations. So this standardizes the job. So we need to actually set standards that the job has to have through having job analysis and also conducting work analysis. So we are able to get job related data to be able to frame and construct a job description that suits the job and that is congruent with the job needs of the organization. So the process results in collecting and recording the two data sets, including the job data set for job description and also a data set for the job specification. So any job vacancy cannot be filled until the human resource manager has these two data sets, the data set for job description and the data set for job specification. So both these job descriptions and the job specifications are essential parts of a job analysis information. So they should be valid and reliable when the person starts doing the job. So that's what you see, that job analysis is giving birth to job description and the job specification. So in the job description, we're able to see that the job description will have a job title, the title of the job, the location of the job summary, and to whom are you reporting to, will you be reporting to, the working conditions which the job has, and the duties required of you, even the machines which you may be using, which you may use, and the hazards involved. Those are job descriptions. But in the current times, we have the job descriptions are essential for recruiting and conducting job evaluation. So if you don't have job description, then how are you going to recruit? How are you going to select? How are you going to evaluate? So even job performance appraisals are conducted based on the job description. Training is also done based on that job description, and the handling grievances, those grievances and the disciplinary cases are handled based on how earlier on issues were organized in the job description. So this is like a schematic diagram which is designed to show what is actually involved in doing the job and what is actually required of the worker in doing this job. So both of them are actually born from job analysis. That's why you see the job description is born from job analysis. It is derived from job analysis and work analysis. Then the job specification has to indicate for us the qualifications needed, the experience, the training, and the responsibilities, the emotional requirements, emotional statistics, the characteristics, emotional characteristics required, and the sensory demands of their job. So job specifications are also sometimes known as employee specifications. They are written statements of education qualifications, specific qualities, level of experience, the physical and emotional, technical and communication skills required to perform the job, and also the responsibilities involved in the job and other unusual sensory needs. So many times people see job descriptions which having some of the contents of the job specification, but before we actually qualify someone for in jobs, in what we call recruitment process, and we have now undertaken some selection processes, we have screened the employee, we reach at a time where we go specific. The job description can even be a toast to the general public, and the information can even go in a job advert. That information on the job description can go out there to the external stakeholders. But job specification will talk about some of the issues which the public may not need to know about, such as the salary, rewards, or the rewards are actually distributed over positions, and those negotiable aspects which you need to have got the person, and start to now negotiate on some of those aspects which the public may not need to know about. Then those aspects are included in the job specification, and they are specific for a specific job and specific to a specific position, and to a certain hierarchy. So that's what happens. Most times people see job descriptions, but behind there are also job specifications that an employee or a staff needs to know, and the directors of the organization need to prepare both. Then the human resource manager needs to guide them on how to prepare them appropriately to suit the needs of the organization. Now let us look at the other part called recruitment and selection. Recruitment is a process of searching out, finding and selecting the best candidate to do the job, and doing it more effectively and efficiently. Here we define the sources from which employees or staff can be got, and those sources can be both internal and external sources. We want to get employees, but where specifically can we get them? Can we source internally, or can we go externally and have the staff? So all this process is what we are calling recruitment. We're searching out to find and select the best candidate, and the best candidate to fill the right position with the right skills, the right knowledge, the right values, and the right and the appropriate cost. So that's now what we need to do in the in what we call recruitment. Recruitment moves together with selection. However, selection is done after undertaking the recruitment process. Selection is along the way. You're selecting among those who have been sourced through a recruitment process. So how do we get employees or workers, and how do we get them? From internal and external sources. So from internal sources, you can do promotion of existing workers who have proved to be competent, to be confident, to have the character and the consistency of doing the job better, are promoted. You can also opt to transfer some of the employees from one section to another, from one department to another, from one branch to another, from one country to another country. So that is also another way of internally recruiting employees. The other alternative is to look at the database available and looking at the database which the previous applicants and the applications. Then we can now try to source out those who attended interviews and proved to do better in that position, can be contacted to see whether they still have the jobs, they still need a job. They can now be recruited. So you're not looking outside the organization, you're looking within the organization to recruit staff. The other alternative is in internal advertisement, where you can advertise that here we need a person to undertake this job or to do this job. So anybody who is interested can actually express interest to do the job in writing to the office of the human resource manager. So there you're internally sourcing and advertising. So the staff can look at the notice board or the online platforms of the organization and actually see that you have a need to internally source a person to undertake that job or that project. The other is internal referrals. The existing staff may be knowing some of the people who may undertake the job. However, this is biased, though it can also enable you to get employees to do that job. So they can refer you to specific persons who can do the job, and then these can be contacted to undertake the job. The other is called the job posting, where employees internally apply for a job and they can be awarded those positions. You've seen some of the universities which if they need a vice chancellor, they go out, they can advertise internally. Anybody who is interested in being a vice chancellor can apply. So that is job posting. And then a job posting is similar to internal advertisement, and when it is done, then that staff is said to have been promoted. Former employees can be contacted, those that left the organization on good terms, and even those that left on bad terms but are thought to have adjusted their lives can be contacted to come and offer services on either part-time basis or full-time basis. And other organizations, instead of employing external workers, they set up committees. So on these committees, the chairperson is an internal person other than external. The members are also internal, staff are internal. So these committees can undertake that project and complete it, or play that role and complete it other than relying on external sources. When we look at external sources, they involve going externally to get possibilities of recruiting staff and getting them on board, so that they can be subjected to a screening and selection process. And this is done by advertising or telecasting, radio casting. You can post the advert on the website, on the social media platform, or any other way of accessing the public to come and actually apply. So then the other way is talent searching. And talent searching, one goes out to look for those who can actually do the job. In talent searching, some of the employees can be subjected to a test in the field, and then you come up with searching for who can actually sing, and the community knows some of the people who are singing and those who are dancing. So you can now through inquiries find those who are dancing. In talent searching, you can even go to events where such talents are evident and can easily be evident or exhibited, and get those workers and put them on board to actually select who is the best. Headhunting involves inquiries into communities to be recommended who is and who can do the job. So that is head hunting. It is like a community outreaches, going door to door looking for who can. There are also referrals and recommendations which members of the community or organization or other external organizations can actually do a referral or recommend that this so and so can actually do the job. There's employment agencies and the labor unions. Those employment agencies and labor unions can also help you to get workers. Then there are also campus recruitments where you go to education institutions, colleges and institutes, universities and other education institutions to actually source for workers. Others go to what you call job fairs or career events where various people and who are interested in some careers actually go to visit those career places and events to participate, and from these events we can actually source some workers. Websites and job boards, and these days we have digital platforms can be used to get workers. Otherwise, you can also have contractors instead of a single worker. You can have contractors or externally sourced through the bidding process, and also applicants assessing the applicants of other organizations. If you've heard of an organization advertising to have applicants, you can instead go to that organization and ask for the data of applicants who were previously obtained, and then you can contact those applicants, and especially those who were not successful. So the recruitment and selection process here, we can see the recruitment and selection process, but the steps of recruiting start from identifying the needs or the requirements for hiring an employee or employees or staff, then creating the job description and the job specification. Then now here you can go out to do the search or to source for workers at step 3. That's one of them is talent searching, but we have seen others as well. Then you can also you do the shortlisting and the screening after looking at what was in the job description and looking at the applicants and those who have expressed interest. You can now start to get the best by shortlisting and screening out those you may not. Then you can have what you call this number 5, interviewing, but interviewing is just one of the methods of selecting employees. You can do interviews, you can now set tests as we shall see later, but interviewing is just one way. You can do testing, you can have role playing, people can actually perform, you can give a sample task to somebody to do it, and you can use all other means. Then you do the evaluation and the employment offer. So you evaluate, and afterwards after evaluation you can get the best candidate, and that best candidate is awarded a job, and then you can have the person, or if it's a woman or a man, or you can now be introduced what we call introduction to other workers, and an induction of the new employee is done. And after induction, it would be a deployment. So deployment, then the person is ready to do work. However, there is also steps in job selection. These are job selection. You are selecting. You can have preliminary interviews. You can also uh, analyze applications and select out the best, or the profiling and portfolio of workers. Then you can also set selection tests. You can do employment interview. You can also do a medical examination for some jobs which need it. You can also do reference checking by calling or emailing referees. You can also do final selection. So they have attached for you there a page where you can have these sources of data, and that is the website. And so a selection process depends on the organization's culture and the policy establishment. So the policy specifies what the process should be, the recruitment process and also the selection process. So the organization policy stipulates that. So in place of interviewing, the organization can use various assessment methods to arrive at the best candidate. So interviewing is not only the only way of concluding on who the best candidate is. So here is an example of the Sport 6 radio that wanted presenters. So, and what it did, that some organizational considerations of this were like, let us see, the radio needed these areas to be covered under the various programs, and the employees were screened and tested based on their knowledge and ability to translate and work in these key areas, such as natural environment. The person needed to know about that. Family, community, and social environment. People needed to know the production and the trade in the community, how it is done. Education and the development of community, how is it done. These were some of the aspects which interviewers or those involved in psychological testing and assessment were looking for from the workers who are to be presenters, so that they can be able to do the work in the community of their deployment. Remember, this is a radio station. The needs can vary with various organizations. That the people needed, the presenters also needed to know some information on public health and safety, children affairs, elderly programs, games and sports. Have some others who needed to know about news in the county, in the state, and the national and international news. Others needed to know about inclusivity and diversity, technology and world affairs, enterprise, finance, gossip, politics, and religious affairs. So, the organization needed these in various levels. The ones which are like high, just know that those ones were needed more than those that were at the low, with the low bars. So these needs have to be known so that workers are selected to fit in the needs of the organization. However, those who were involved in marketing, the marketeers needed to display these promotional strategies. So marketeers needed to have strategies of marketing this radio, of marketing this television and the radio. So they were examined to see whether they have they know that high quality broadcasting affects marketing, such as good programming, presenters presenting well, and making the shows, the radio and television shows, attractive. They also needed to display knowledge of brand equity and visibility, that the radio and television needed billboards, t-shirts, capes, and social media engagements to promote its brand. Then also, they needed also display knowledge of the ability to live stream sessions, and which sessions, for example, are authorized for live streaming by the Uganda Communications Commission and the communication commissions of states and the countries. They also needed to show that when you leverage media such as Facebook, X, YouTube, you can have more audience as well. Website hosting and radio portals, where they also needed to know about them. So in the selection process, there are some questions which are directly um, uh, uh, directly stated to the marketeers and the marketing manager to show whether the marketing manager has a clue or has a concept and skills and knowledge a skill and knowledge base of how marketing of such a radio or television should be undertaken. So for that, there also some variables such as expanding coverage of the radio or television, such as frequency licensing and bandwidth, can affect the audiences, the number of people listening, and also the width of the market. Then increasing clientele, the marketer needed to know strategies of increasing clients and partnership in physical and digitally outreach partnerships. So, offer strategic discussions on contracts and promotional strategies. This marketeer needed to display this knowledge. So, the assessors and the interviewers, the testers, needed to pose to create an environment where marketeers needed to display this knowledge to arrive at the best interview, the best candidate. The manager also needed to know who can be the client and the partner of the radio and on the television. So, such as sources such as source 1, and this is the strategic international management agency by the action entrepreneurs. An example drawn from assessment of manager needed to do the job, so needed to know the partners. If one was to be asked and is a manager, who do you think could be the partners of this radio station and television? What would be the responses? Source 1 expected responses would be a business community, such as companies and industries can advertise with us, and they all buy talk shows and buy other products of the radio. Then telecom companies can also focus on whether we have grown our audiences, can actually be our client. Banks and financial institutions, beverages, those companies dealing in beverages, food and beverage, like water and other drinks, hotels and restaurants, education institutions, those involved in building, land and brokerage, the land agencies, those in estates, okay, food and confectionery, those in bread and food, events and entertainments, those who are going to host events, and industry and general trade, electronics and hardware, boutiques and mattresses, furniture. Those are sources of revenue. Clients, those are clients who will be sources of company revenue. The manager needed to know. The manager also needed to know external other sources such as non-profit organizations partnering with the radio and the television, such as NGOs, there's non-government organizations, community-based organizations, civil society organizations, CSOs, partners and donors in the donor community. Other sources such as government ministries, local government, government agencies, regional governments, and government grants can be brought on board. So ministries can advertise and can also have talk shows and other products. So these managers needed to mention some of these basics of who are the clients and who are the partners if you are to be a manager. So let us conclude this session by looking at outsourcing and insourcing. The concept outsourcing is an option that can be adopted to get external service providers to render services to your organization, such as transport. You may not have the resources to buy a car, but there are already organizations that have cars, and you can partner with them and have a contract of hiring you cars every time you need them. You may have another which, for example, you may need to work with the security. So you need security services. You may not need to train internal staff to be security guards, but instead have a security organization providing you security services and through partnership. This is what we are calling outsourcing. You're sourcing from outside the organization. You can have suppliers of equipment on contract. You can have food and refreshments supplied to you without having a kitchen in the organization. Your industry doesn't have a kitchen, but there are those who have restaurant services that can cook and supply to your staff at intervals and at schedules and menus that are designed and already agreed upon. Could be a generator. There are those organizations that do not have generators but are using generators that are owned by other organizations. So those other organizations fuel the generators, provide the generators, fuel the generators, and even do repairs and maintenance. They set up automatic changeover switch, the OTS, the ATS, automatic changeover switches, the inverters, and all the measures that ensures that there is continuous flow of power and electricity to your premises of the organization. So these are possible outsourced services. They could be legal services, they could be external auditors, externally outsourced. All these are externally outsourced services. So what happens is that outsourcing is adopted when the need is available. So the cost is also examined to be lower. The time of receiving these services is also observed to be lesser, and the skills or the knowledge may not be necessarily available within the organization, but outside the organization, the knowledge and the skills are available. Then either an expatriate can be outsourced, or a member within the country, a person within the country, a professional, can be hired to come and render those services on contract. That's what we are calling outsourcing. So we outsource basing on the needs and the objectives of the organization. We also analyze the costs and the time of receiving these services. We also look at the quality if these services are outsourced, and the consistency in supply of quantity required is also observed. So the procurement policy to guide the outsourcing process and procedures is designed specifying the tendering process, the selection, remuneration, and the terms of disengagement or termination of the outsourced service. However, when we look at outsourcing, what the other aspect called insourcing is the organization's endeavor to train employees or prepare them to provide the services that are needed by the organization, even in the changing environment. Even if the organization has changed the direction of its production or its service delivery, the employees can be tailored to that change to adopt or to work well in the new change. So instead of outsourcing, it means that the organization can in-source, source within. So it trains the person, its available employees and staff to do the job instead of looking around for who is outside there to do the job. Those are organizations that trust that the employees internally will be able to do the job if they are trained and are equipped with all the possible resources to do it. Then the organization can go ahead to in-source other than outsourcing. So in-sourcing is within the organization and outsourcing is outside the organization. I would like to close this session here. When we come back, we shall look at what we call performance targets. We also look at the policy formulation and the policy development within the organization. Thank you. This is Wilber, Ssebuyungo, Kivekayunga, Nkumba University, Action Entrepreneurs on Radio Karo FM and the Sport 6 Cafe. Thank you.